Well, welcome into Minecraft. What I have here is a lot more boring than what you're probably seeing on your own screen. I created this little mini tutorial world that's very flat just to make things a little bit simpler as I create my own videos. You should probably be surrounded by giant mountains and waterfalls and deserts and all kinds of interesting things. But here we are, and we've just started, and there's nothing on our belt. But luckily, what I have here is a little signpost that tells me where I am, and I am currently at Tutorial World. Yours will say something different depending on which location you're at. And a chest, which if I right click on the chest, I see that several things have been put in the chest for me. I have torches and wheat and what are called spawn eggs, even though we know that cows don't come from eggs. That's how it works in Minecraft, so I can use this egg to actually create a cow, a compass, and a paper. Actually, 8 pieces of paper. Depending on where you are, I might have put some extra things in here that you might need to survive. So for example, if you don't have a bunch of trees around you, I might have given you some wood to work with in the beginning. But that just depends on where you are in the Minecraft world. I know you're probably very anxious to get started playing the game, but there are a couple more things we need to do before we do that. Back at our survival guide. On my template survival guide, you'll see that I have a couple sections after the backstory called My Supplies and My Environment. So we're going to spend a few minutes doing those before we really dive into the game itself. So the first thing we're going to do is create a little table that lists all the supplies that we find in the chest near our spawn station. So you recall from the first video that in order to write the word My Supplies, and I'll switch back to my other one, I need to switch from normal to heading up here in the ribbon. I also preferred to have it underlined, so I'm going to highlight the word supplies and underline it. And now we need to what's called insert a table. So I told you before that anytime we put something into Word, we use the insert tab on the ribbon. And today we're going to actually be putting in a table. Now, you'll see as I drag my mouse that the different size tables, it'll actually begin to draw it for me. And basically what I need is I need two columns, one that tells what the thing is, and the other column to tell me how many, and then I need a row for each supply. And I can't recall off the top of my head how many supplies I had, but if I don't have enough, that won't be a big deal. So I'm going to go ahead and just stop right here and click. And it's created a table that I can easily write inside. So I can say item, and I'm going to press the tab key. I could also use my mouse to click in different cells, but the tab key will actually move over. And I'm going to say inventory, as in how many do I have? Now I'm going to go ahead and highlight these two things and go to home and make them bold, so I know that those are sort of the headings of my table. And if I switch back to my template real quick, you see I've listed each supply I have and how many are in my inventory. You'll do the same thing, and it might be different for different people because you'll recall I said some people might have extra supplies, some people might have fewer supplies. And it looks like I forgot to put in my little sentence that describes what this table actually is. So let's go back. I'm going to put my cursor up here at the end of supplies and press enter twice, and I'll say these are the supplies I found in my chest. Oops, I made a spelling mistake, so I'm going to right click on this word, and it found several possible things that it thought I might be trying to spell, and of course I was trying to spell chest. I'm going to put a colon here, and then I have my table. The problem is the table has gotten stretched across 2 pages, and I don't really like that very much, so I'm going to go ahead and put my cursor in front of the word supplies and press enter a few times, and move the whole heading down to the next page. And you can go ahead right now and pause the video and fill in your table with all the items and the numbers that you have. I want to point out one thing. I added to my item list, and I accidentally erased that actually, a camera, because during our survival guide we will be taking pictures of a lot of things inside the Minecraft world, and so to sort of stay within the imaginary game that we're playing, I added camera to the list so that our character could actually take pictures. You won't actually see that in the treasure chest, we're just sort of pretending. So go ahead and add that to your list as well. I also want to point out that as you're typing your list, if you need to add more rows because you need more room, I come to my last cell over here and I press the right arrow key to sort of come to the end of the table, and I just press the enter key and it automatically get a new row. And I can do that as many times as I need to. And I'm going to go and press Control Z. You should know already that Control Z undoes my last move, so get rid of those 2 rows that I don't actually need. Alright, so we're almost getting ready to play, but before that we're going to take a look at our surroundings and write a few things about them. So you know at this point how to write these words, my environment, colon, and then yours should not say tutorial land. Yours will be whatever location inside the game is yours. So you can come to this signpost and right click, and you'll see that I gave each location a name. So you can go ahead and do that. And let me switch back to my oops, I don't want title, I want heading. So I'm going to say the environment colon, and mine's still tutorial world. Okay, I'm going to press enter. Oops, I also want to make this underlined. And now what we're going to do is we're going to have a numbered list. And that's really easy. I come up here to my ribbon, and I've got 2 kinds of lists I can make, really. A bullet list, which is just little dots next to each item, or a numbered list. And for now, I'm going to use a numbered list. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write 5 things about my environment. And let me switch back to my template. I have written, mine is mostly flat. Yours probably won't be. I have a pool of water. I have trees. I have a little mountain. And I talk about the weather. So you're going to have at least 5 things on your numbered list. And in my description, I explain what it is, and I explain how this might impact me in the game. So when I mention water, I talk about how important that will be for me to survive, because I can drink it, obviously, and also it's going to allow me to water my crops and animals. When I mention wood, I talk about how it's important for me to have wood to make tools and build structures like my house. Talk about the importance of stone so I can make better tools than my wood tools. And then with the weather, I mentioned the weather that I've seen, including the fact that the sun moves from east to west. You might want to add a section about that in your own survival guide. That will help you out tremendously later on in the game. So I'm going to go ahead and pause real quick, and I'm going to add my 5 items. When I'm making this bulleted list, when I want to go to the next one, I just press enter and it will automatically add the next number in the numbered list. It's very convenient. So I'm going to pause real quick and come back with my list full, and then we'll talk about how to make some pictures. So here's my 5-point list where I have talked about what's in my environment and how it might affect me in the game. And now it's time to go back and get some pictures. I need a picture for each one of my numbers here, and I also need a picture back up here, at least one picture for my backstory. So this is really easy, actually. You might be surprised by how easy this actually is, because whenever I'm using my computer, literally whenever, I can press the print screen button, which is at the top right hand side of the keyboard. It's up there above the number pad. It's called print screen. I'm going to press that key right now. Just press it once and let it go. And then what that does is it takes a picture with the camera of whatever's on my computer screen at that moment. Whatever's on there, and it puts it on my clipboard so that I can paste it. So I'm going to go back to my document. I'm going to come here, and I'm going to press enter once at the end of this number 1. And you'll see it adds this to number 2 that I don't want that number 2. I'm going to press backspace to get rid of it. But now what I can do is I'm going to actually just go ahead and paste it by right-clicking and doing paste. Or, if I'm snazzy, I could do Control V, which is the shortcut key to paste. And just like I said, it took a picture of the whole screen. Now, not just Minecraft now, but all my little icons down here, my volume, my window up top, just like I said. And I actually don't want this picture right now because I'm going to go ahead and click on and press the delete key on the keyboard to get rid of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get a picture that expresses the fact that my world is mostly flat. So let's go back to the game. All right, and if I look over here, I see pretty much a flat world. So I'm going to press print screen. Gonna go back to my thing. Going to press Control V to paste, or I could right click and do paste. And here's my big old picture. You'll recall that I told you before, if you double click on the picture, we get all the picture options here. Now I'm not going to bother with putting a frame on all the pictures I do, like I did it on the title screen. But one thing I am going to do for all these pictures is I am going to crop them. Now cropping is like taking scissors and getting rid of parts you don't want. And I don't want to see anything at all except the Minecraft world. I don't want to see any evidence of my computer at all. So there's my window that just has Minecraft. So now I can unclick the word crop. You know what? I think it's a little bit big, by the way, so I'm going to go ahead to this bottom corner and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. We don't need to have gigantic pictures here. They're just sort of evidence. And once again, I don't like the fact that my things have been separated, so I'm going to go ahead and just bring this whole thing down. Just a little bit like that. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to put pictures for all of my statements. But the picture should make sense and it should describe what I'm talking about. So it has a small pool of water. Okay, so let's go ahead and press enter and backspace to get rid of that number 3 I don't want. I'm going to go back to the game. Head over to my pool of water. And I'm going to press the print screen button. Go back to Word, Control V. Now one more time I need to crop away these little extra things I don't want. And I'm going to do my best to make these pictures all the same size. I'm going to do this for all 5 of my pictures. So I'll be right back. I've got one more trick to teach you inside Word right now, and it's a really neat one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a table of contents for my guide, and I put it right underneath my sort of title page. So let me go back over to my one that does not have a table of contents. The cool part is that if I click on Welcome, it takes me to that section. So once this document grows and grows, it'll make it really easy to go to different parts of the document without having to look and look and look for them. So let me go back to my other one that I haven't done this in yet. So you see I have my title slide, and I just sort of went right into it. So I'm going to put my cursor up here before welcome, and I'm just going to press enter until I get a whole page free, and this whole page is going to be my table of contents. Okay, so now I can see that, the word welcome is on page 3. If I click on page 1, obviously that's page 1. And I'll put my table of contents on page 2 here. So I'm going to go ahead and for this we'll use the title and we'll say table of contents. I'll press enter. Once again, it switched off of title back to normal. And I'm going to have a numbered list like we did before. And I'm going to say I have a welcome section, I have a backstory section, I have a supplies section, and I have an environment section so far. So this is my quick numbered list. And this is actually really simple. All I need to do is highlight the word welcome, for example, and I'm going to right click on it. And I get a bunch of options. One of the options is hyperlink. It's a fancy way of saying a link. And when I do that, I have a bunch of options over here, but what I want to make sure I have selected is I'm going to link to a place in this document. Not a web page, not an email address, a place in this document, and you'll see it already has my sections for me right here. And that's because I used the headings when I made those. So I want this one to link to the welcome section. I want the backstory. I'm going to right click, press hyperlink, link to the backstory section. Supplies should link to the supplies section. And environment will link to the environment section. And this is one of the reasons why we actually used the headings up here instead of just making the text bigger, because the Word document automatically knew to make those bookmarks for us that we could link to. So now if I click on welcome, I have to actually hold down control and click on welcome. It takes me straight there. If I click on environment, it takes me straight there. Now I do have to be careful, Because if I were to come back later on and move the place where welcome is, let's say I just move it around and I click on it again, it might not know where to find it. So you have to be careful about that once you actually make the table of contents. But it's really that simple. And now when you come back to your document later on, instead of having to scroll all the way down to the bottom, I can just click on my last section and I've got a lot less scrolling to do. So go ahead now and create your table of contents. That brings us to the end of this video. You'll notice at the bottom of my table I also had a little disclaimer to everyone that says it is important to remember that you can also use stone and other hard rocks to make better tools, as I mentioned before in the video. The last step for today